right, we are live. Yes. I am so excited today, guys. Thank you so much for joining another Slice of Pie Tipsy Tuesday. This is a day when we talk business, life, relationships, and all of those things. And I am so excited. Yann is here from Aspiration Coaching. First of all, I'm a huge fan. So we'll just take it out there. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. It's Yann from Aspire, so really excited to be here. Thank you, Shelly, so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. So, guys, I am cheating. I do have my questions here because I want to make sure that I capture everything. So, as you're coming into the room, drop a comment, say hello, tell us how your day was. But I'm going to go head first because I want to make sure I get as much as I can out of this conversation. I will also drop the link to Aspire Coaching so you don't miss out. All right. So first off, just a brief introduction. So I'm just going to read these things off. International Leadership and Executive Coach. That's high potential coaching. One thing that I thought was so incredible as I was studying more about your company is the scientific nature that you bring to coaching. So I want you to touch a little bit on that. But after 15 plus years of corporate life, you launched this coaching practice called Aspire. I would love to hear a little bit more about your journey and what motivated you. There are a lot of us in the corporate world who, we can't see our way out of that. What motivated you to start your company?
Well, there were a lot of different factors, but I would say that it actually started a long time ago when I started my own coaching journey back in 2015. And a lot of people might not know this, but I started my own coaching journey because I wanted to work on relationships with men, romantic relationships. I figured I was very successful in my career. By that time, I was already a director. I was like early 30s. I had lived in London for 3 years, Singapore for 2. And I kind of figured out more of the corporate game. I guess I was just a really good worker. I was able to produce a lot, but in my romantic life, I just couldn't figure it out. I kept repeating the same mistakes, the same patterns. And people were like, I think it has to do with your parents or your dad, daddy issues. And I was like, no way. I was super detached. And then after being in Singapore and another relationship that was 4 years long ended, I was like, okay, maybe it's time that I look into myself, because I read a lot of self-help books, but I couldn't figure this out. I couldn't figure it out. So I was like, my brother had invited me to this place called the Right Foundation where there's coaching, you learn a lot, you do different assignments. And I thought, you know what, let's give it a go. I was super defensive at first. I was like, no, I don't need this. And then I was like, let me just do it month by month. And then I was there for 8 years of my own coaching and learning and developing myself and figuring out what the things that I was putting in my way and not really understanding about my life journey, my parents, how they influenced me, the limiting beliefs that I grew up with. So that was really the journey. And, when you work on yourself, all parts of yourself kind of explode, right? So at work, I became even more myself. I felt like I belonged more than I ever did. I became known to people. And I just was way more successful in my role. I had emotional management. I was able to be with angry executives. I could be angry as well in a grounded, productive way, right? So it just really changed my world. And then, of course, I met my husband 3 years ago and we got married. So a lot in my life has changed. And a big part of the journey was embracing the unknown instead of figuring out, I'm a finance girl, right? So I'm always forecasting, planning. And then I remember being on these dates, I would see this guy in front of me and I would already picture us getting married or something crazy that wasn't even true. So I wasn't even in the moment with anybody. I was in the future daydreaming or something. So by working on myself, I really realized that I can be present with myself. The truth is we can only control a little bit of our life and our brains and how we think, right? But the rest of it is embracing the change, embracing the unknown. And my journey in doing that was continual. Every risk I took, every person I dated, deciding to get married, and even this birthing, I'm birthing this company, my baby. Has been, another layer of embracing this unknown and trusting myself and trusting, the path that feels right for me. And that's been, it's been a journey to create that internal compass in me and to really feel like, okay, that feels right for me. It feels really scary still, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I can like go back to corporate or whatever, but I align myself back to why I'm doing this. What is it for? And for me, I did a lot of coaching even when I was at LexisNexis. I was coaching women in the Acuity Women's group that I created, and it was a big ERG there. I was coaching my direct reports. I was helping peers, coaching them to present financials or to present to different stakeholders. So I always loved that part. I loved being present with people and using that right side of my brain along with the left side, like that integration of like, let's look at all the numbers, let's figure things out, and let's figure out how to be in relationship and be like a human to another human person.
I love that. I think, I was saying, so backstage, y'all, before we got started, I was saying that one of the things that I think drew me to you was you really do pick that up in the spirit of your post. So for you guys, make sure that you're, I'll drop the link to Aspire Coaching, but you definitely want to check out some of the LinkedIn posts that are coming from this professional here, because there are so many jewels around being authentic and being purposeful and being mindful. And I think that there's so many of us that we think that, when we're shifting into doing something, or I call it our passion work, that it's just that, that this magically just gonna happen, but there's a lot of thought and careful thought that goes behind that. And I just appreciate when you share that information with the rest of us, that you're sharing that as a part of yourself. So it's very authentic. You kind of carry that spirit of coaching. So
thank you. Yeah. And as you know, right, we're living the work, like it's a lifelong journey. And the thing I love about coaching is everybody is mutual in that, like, we're all learning, right? We all are humans with thoughts that sometimes help us, that don't. And it's like, I like to share in my posts, like, stuff that I've been through personally, and to like demystify a lot of things. Cause I think some people who've worked with me in the past, like even preparing to do a presentation, they'd just be like, oh, I'm just not good at it. And I'm like, that's a thought you're having. Like, you are not good at things, like, and they're just like, oh, you're just good at it. I'm like, no, I practice. Like, I practice my presentation. I practice my presence. It's not just like, it's funny how people think like they just are good or bad at things, when it's like, actually, you get to try, you get to choose new thoughts, you get to like live into it and see what happens.
I love that. So, all right. So I want to, there was something else I read that you shared, that you are a first generation immigrant who values safety and security. So I wanted to know, because I'm also an immigrant, I'm from Jamaica, and for us, stability, even the idea of leaving a corporate life is scary. So how, and again, you're an executive. So what was that like for you to shift from a corporate life to entrepreneurship?
I think for me, there were so many changes happening at that time, but in my mind, it had been like sort of a dream, right? You see this dream for like long time and you keep thinking about it and like, what if, and I remember actually having dinner with a coach that coaches a lot in LexisNexis, and we just had like a dinner, and she just invited me, and she was like, I'd love to talk to you about it. And she was just so like affirming, and I don't know if she's going to watch this, but her name's Benita Mayhead. I don't know if you've connected with her at all. Yeah. So Benita was like, just come and have dinner with me. We had like this long dinner, and she was just like, yeah, like, just try it out, like, it was just like one more step in that direction of like, just see what you can do and try it out while you're working and figure out like, what you like from it. So it's that, like, for me, I know I'm good at taking risks, but they have to be calculated. So, I moved from New York to London. I moved from London to Singapore. It's not like I'm like adverse to risk, right? But I know myself, and I know, and I think I shared a little bit on that post about this generational trauma of like wanting security and safety, right? And I remember even when I was in London, my boss at the time was like, oh, you're parents must be so proud of you. And I'm like, yeah, I think they're just like, it's okay. You know, they would rather me be home closer to family. Obviously they're like, oh, you know, this is like an executive person, you know, they live in London, but the lens is very different because of where people come from. They want you to be close to your family. They want you to get that paycheck. They want that security and that predictability. And, you know, I did it for many years and I loved it. And even now, right, there's just like a stronger belief in myself and what I can create. And I still like knowing that I can create like money, I can create income for myself while doing something I love, and like knowing that I actually have skills. It's not like I'm just, you know, sort of like a 20-year-old, like, I'm just going to be a coach. Like, you know, I have no experience. I'm like, no, I've got years of learning like doing my own coaching. And so all of those calculated risk, right, have helped me to be like, let's just jump in, do it, like believe in yourself and keep working on that self-concept, like keep believing in yourself. And when you don't, like, do some coaching on yourself, get some coaching, like you're just in the world. But there is like this commitment to trying it out and backing yourself and just putting it out there, which is super scary. Like when I launched my website, when I changed my LinkedIn profile, I was like, ah! Like, am I really doing this? Right? It's like, oh my, but then when you do it, you're like, okay, I'm doing it. It's happening. So, you know, I still have those, you know, moments where I'm like, am I really doing this? You know, a few weeks ago, I presented to a bunch of women in the Chief Network, like 100 women. And I'm like presenting, and I chatted with a few people afterwards, and they were like, you know, I was like, oh, I just launched my business earlier this year. And they were like, what? You know? And so, you know, even in your own mind where you might feel like, oh, I'm just new at this, you're like, actually, I've been presenting for years. I've been presenting different things. I'm just building on it, and I'm creating a different pathway and doing the thing that I love to do.
I love that. I love that. So again, for all of the rest of us yachties who are going to be watching this, who are very, very nervous about making the idea that there was consideration for acceptable risk, and also there was a plan in place. It wasn't like you just got up and said, I'm just gonna roll out Aspire Coaching. There was intention behind, you know, the building of your organization, and obviously we want it to be successful and profitable. So when you were, you know, before you were preparing, first of all, where does the name come from? Is that because Aspire to me means a lot? So where does even Aspire Coaching, and tell us a bit more about your organization.
Sure. So, you know, I was thinking about a lot of different names, you know, as you think about companies, right? And a slice of pie is great. It was like trying to figure out what speaks to me. And when I was kind of coming up with a phrase, like, I'm really helping people transform their aspirations into actuality. Like that's what I do, right? People come to me and they say, I really want to work on this thing. I want to have more confidence. I want to be more present with my family. You know, I want, you know, more like emotional management in my life, more ability to be with my upset. And it's like, okay, we get to work together. We get to work together on this and focus on that and make it real for you, and not just make it real, but, you know, test it out. And then when it doesn't work out, keep testing it out until it feels real. Like I have your back through the whole process. So that was really my view of, like, you know, these aspirations are both personal and professional. Bring your aspirations, bring your wanting a change, this willingness to do the work, and we can work together. Like that's the whole coaching relationship. So that's really been a big part of inspiring me. And I love the executive coaching side, but I also love the life side. And, you know, Shelly, as you're a coach, you know, we work with people, like you're a whole person. So whether it's work or life, but I do enjoy that aspect. I have a lot of clients that are self-paying. I have some corporate clients, but the ones that are self-paying, like they come with, you know, their hard-earned money. They're trusting you, and they are believing in themselves and committing to themselves. Like, let's make this happen. I want to feel less stressed. I want to be more present with my family. That's like invaluable, right? It's like, of course.
I love it. I think what I'm also picking up from you is that you genuinely care about your clients. I mean, there's a lot of coaches out there. Okay. Some of us might have had a few. You pay your hard-earned money, and then you're thinking, all you gave me was a Canva template and some nice words.
Yeah.
This is very different. It's very clear that you genuinely, you're invested into the success of your clients. And I like even the modeling, the way that you have built out your coaching. And when I talk about, I call it scientific coaching, because that's the best way I can kind of sum it. But can you talk a little bit about the modeling, that the way that you go about, doing this?
Yeah, so I mean, coaching is so important, right? So it's like the thing about coaching is there's a coach person that a person believes in, there's themselves, they believe that they can create that, and then there's the tools and process. So I actually, right now I still offer an hour and a half consultation for anybody who wants to come, learn about, work, like things that they want to work on. Like we go through a whole different areas of life, and then I explain the process that I work with people. And mostly the process that I work with people, it's very a similar plate. It's very different for everybody, but it starts with your parents. It starts with where you were born. It starts with some of those limiting beliefs that you might have had before. And then it goes into how are those beliefs or those adaptations that you created in childhood, how are they showing up now that aren't really helping you? And, in our brains, like I explain brains to people too, we have 60,000 thoughts a day, that's a lot. And we decide to attach to different thoughts, right? So in our childhood, we must have attached a lot to safety and security because of where we came from. Like, this is so important. This is so important. And it is important, but sometimes we overdo it, right? We make X amount, like I have the clients like this all the time. They make X amount of money and they're just like, it's still not enough. But actually, if you told me 10 years ago that I had this money, I'd be like, wow, that's enough. It's all about perspective. It's like never enough when you come from this place of deficiency or you come from this place of like scarcity. You're always trying to do more to fill it. And so what I do and how I work with my clients is to shed a light on that. Like, what are you doing or overdoing that is not really conscious? It's become more autopilot. You keep attaching to that thought just because it's super quick. It's the neural pathway has been formed. It's like very well, right? We're like, we need to make the money. We need to make the money. We need to create safety for our family. And then it's like, but we already did that. Why do we keep choosing that? Even though we've done that already. Like, why can't we choose create your business and make some money? It's like, take some calculated risk. It's okay. So the way I work with my clients is to help them look at their brains, look at their thoughts, and say, hey, this is what you're thinking. You're really concerned about money, but you have quite a lot of money. So is this how you want to drive all the decisions in your life, right? So it could be money, it could be other subjects, but the way that I work with clients, it's like, let's start with you. And I'm really a co-creator in the coaching relationship. I'm asking provocative questions. I'm helping people notice things about themselves. I'm sharing that. And then we get to look at it together and say, what does this mean? How do we want to move forward?
I love that. Also, something else that you touch on, I think for me, it sparked for me, like the idea around thoughts. And I say this all the time, is that your thoughts become your words become your actions are your results. So if you don't work on the thoughts, I'm really good at telling myself what I can't do. And I had to learn that maybe I need to change the way I'm even thinking, and that maybe I'm pretty good at this. I can actually make it happen. And then going back to aspirational, I was thinking just now about millennials. So a lot of, for folks who might watch the replay who are just new to the workforce, or early career folks who might want to get some tips that you can share, like how do you overcome some of these fear barriers. It brings to mind, like, you're new to a role and you're coming in there with these set of X. How do you move through even some of those thoughts?
Well, I think first of all, noticing what thought it is. So this, like, and I'm a big fan of Brooke Castillo's thought model. She does this thing, she calls it the model, and it's very similar to what you said, Shelley. It's like circumstances, which brings up a thought. You choose a thought that like is prevailing. The thought creates feelings and vibrations in your body. With that thought and feeling, you create action in your life, and then or inaction. Some people decide to procrastinate because they're so like paralyzed by fear, and then that creates the results in your life. So it's a really simple model. I think it's super elegant. And what I would tell people is, first of all, just see what your thoughts are. So like, let's start at like square one. A lot of times people want to go from A to Z, and it's
Yeah.
just like, no, let's just start with what's happening. Why am I so scared? Do I
Yeah.
feel like I'm going to make a mistake? Do I feel like I'm going to lose my job? Like, am I feeling like I'm embarrass myself? Like, but pick one, the biggest prevailing thought. You know, it might be, I'm afraid of making mistakes. And then I would say, okay, that's a big thought. What feelings come up? And it might be fear and like, you know, more fear and anxiousness. And the action might be stuttering, you know, inaction, like just keep asking other people questions because I'm scared of making a mistake. And then the result might be just like not like showing up 100%, not really producing great quality work or like exciting work. So, you know, what I would ask the person is there a different thought that you could use? It's not like I'm an amazing performer or I won't make any mistakes, right? That's like that's just too far. It might just be like mistakes are okay, I'm learning. Like that might just be the tweak. Do you know what I mean? So it's just like that little tweak of the thought, and then like let's just use that thought instead versus the other one and see what thought, like what feelings come up with that thought. Like, you know, I can make mistakes, I'm learning.
I love that. I can make mistakes, I'm learning. So this is also great for those of us who are on the other side of 50 like me to keep
Don't look it.
Oh, thank you. But that yeah, I'm gonna be holding on to that. So in terms of like there's this post that you wrote, so I'm gonna read it out a little bit. It was a post that talks about you were challenging us as your audience. And the question was, when does your sense of duty stop serving you? Your sense of duty stops serving you when you feel like you are not making a conscious choice, but rather reacting to circumstances that arise in your life. What does your sense of duty, when does your sense of duty stop serving you? I'm going to tell you, for me personally, I was like, I think she's talking to me. I think she is talking to me because you know, what I was taking from it, I knew I was doing it. I knew I was putting my sense of duty. And by the way, some of these sense of duties are things that I made up myself. Like no one was telling me this was the list that I needed to align to, but I had clear sense of duty, and it was not serving me. It was holding me back from being, you know, we all use the term authentic self, but it really was holding me back from just being me. And
can you share what some of those things were?
So even in my culture, just the fact, first of all, just the fact that I'm on a live show on the internet, you know, and actually showing up outside of the corporate environment, or, you know, really just, this really is me. So bringing that, my sense of duty was, you know, you can't show up in this way because it's not okay in the family, or you might say the wrong thing, or you're coming out, you know. So my sense of duty was just tied up in all of these restrictions that, quite frankly, I knew I was placing these things on myself. You can't say certain things, or you can't, you know, you're laughing too, like all these ridiculous sense of duties that I literally was putting on myself. And when I read your post, when it says, when you feel like you're not, I wasn't making a conscious choice. I was just kind of going with these behaviors that I put in place, and when I should stop just reacting. And for me, it was like, okay, that's it. These things that I'm calling, you know, my sense of duty, these things that I feel like I need to, these are the boxes I need to check, the behaviors and all of those things.
This is like the okay Shelly and the not okay Shelly.
Yeah. Maybe the not okay Shelly is kind of okay. Like, let's stop with the list. And the moment for me, I think, when I started to be okay with that, right? Because it is a journey. It's not like, you know, you're not going to wake up.
You're not comfortable. It's not like you're like, oh, just take your clothes off and feel comfortable.
Exactly. It ain't happening that way. But, you know, the sense of freedom that came from releasing my sense of duty has been amazing. So I wanted to thank you for that, because sharing those types of posts, and again, it's more than, you know, LinkedIn has millions of, you know, users. It probably has millions of posts and content. And I know there are people who are LinkedIn influencers and write stuff out, it just falls out of the air. But the information that you share is always so incredibly relatable, and things that professionals, and again, whether you're early career, millennial, 13, 15, whatever, it just feels like every time you write something, there's some kind of jewel in there that helps us think a little bit deeper than, kind of the surface level coaching, coaching post. So I definitely wonder, again, if you guys, you please follow her on LinkedIn, but also go to Aspire Coaching, because even on Aspire Coaching, even on the site, there were a couple of things that for me, when you talk about the whole self, when you talk about, I know as a professional, if I'm coming to you for coaching, I think one of the things that stands out is that I can be my whole self. So I'm more than, the woman who works in corporate America who's trying to do X. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, and I may have, other opportunities to talk to you about relationship, right? Relationships matter, whether it's online or your home life. And the fact that you're kind of feeding the whole person is what I think makes your business, amazing and obviously successful. And so I'm all over. I warned everybody I'm a super fan before we started, so don't be surprised.
I'm a big fan of yours too. I'm inspired by you doing this business. It's amazing. And I think, as you just said on this, like, coaching is so amazing. Can you imagine a place you go to where there's an unbiased, like somebody who's trained to be unbiased?
Yes.
It's a container. You can go with all your crazy thoughts about yourself or with other people, and like all your crazy thoughts about work or whatnot, and like, your family, and you can be like, here, these are all my crazy thoughts. Well, obviously you have to build the trust and the relationship, but it's like really amazing to have this. I like to think about it, and you talked about being spiritual, right? It's almost this like sacred space of like,
yes.
You can tell me whatever is happening. I'm a human with you, and we can be humans on this thing. It's like no judgment. We're trained to not be judging. We're trained to be empathetic and present with somebody who's just sharing and having whatever feelings that they're having. It's pretty amazing.
It is. And when you see the results, I want to, so you pour into a lot of folks, right? Clients, non-clients. I'm, myself, I feel like I just picked up a mentor for free on the side. Okay. So how do you, because you're pouring into others, how do you pour back into yourself?
Oh, thank you for that question. I mean, I still do my own work. I have my own coach, right? I still do my mindset coaching, and I am constantly like talking to myself and noticing my thoughts, right? I'm more aware of it now than historically because I've been doing so much work, but I notice when I'm having, and actually just last week I was sick, I have a young daughter, she's under 1, my husband wasn't feeling well, and it's like those moments to, for me to say like, okay, let's pause, let's reach out. I need help too. And historically, this has been a really hard thing for me. I'm a historical over functioner, I like make sure everybody else is okay, and then I like over function for the system. So for me, the vulnerability is even just calling somebody and saying, God, I don't feel well. I'm not feeling well, and I'm not like just looking for pity. I just want somebody to be with me in it and to share that. For me to be able to notice those things in myself and ask for help is a big thing. And then I also get inspired by different coaches. I get inspired by other people. I get inspired by my clients, quite frankly, and I get a lot out of when they create results in their lives that, they didn't think that they could. And I really take that in, not so much as like a win or an achievement for me, but as this is really great nourishment for me because I get to be part of the process.
I love that. I was just thinking, so there's a guest in the room. I'm going to call, Jan, I'm going to call you out because you're in the room. So, and thank you for joining. So Jan and I have a very long history. Back in the day, both of us were female engineers at a company called Bell South before it was AT&T. So this is way back in the day. We were the only female engineers, and we rocked it. And she was just asking about. I think she's going to contact you. Yes, for sure, definitely do. I was thinking about coaching and mindset change for those of us who are on the other side of our careers, who've been in the workforce for 25, 30 years or so. And I think some of us are either trying to get on the, Jen says yes, on the off ramp if you're thinking about maybe retirement or a second life, right? A second career.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips to help those individuals prepare themselves for those types of transitions? Can you help?
Yes. I mean, and it's funny because, you asked me about my coaching business. And before I thought, somebody asked me about it, I'd be like, oh, this is what I'm going to do when I retire, as if it was like such a fun hobby that like I couldn't make a career out of it. And like, just going back to you of like, I actually talk to a lot of people. A lot of people make really good money and it's not that hard. And so I started having to like really give evidence to my brain drama. But what I would love to like invite everybody into is to think about, what is that, what brings you joy? It sounds like very I don't know, it sounds very just kind of like, oh, what brings me joy, but like really thinking about like what brings you joy. And for me, actually, if I had asked myself, like if you got to go back and redo it, what would you do? Like what would you do? So my answer a lot of times would be like, I would be like a psychology major. I love people, brains and stuff. And like, actually what I do now is very similar. I was like, oh, I'll be like a therapist or something because I want to be with people and like relate to them and understand them. So I would really ask yourself, this is your one life, right? And retirement's it's a funny one, right? Because like, what do people do when they retire? This is kind of like, what is your passion? What do you care about? And, think about that and then start really creating a dream for yourself that you can start testing, because those negative thoughts will come up, those blocks will come up. But the more you're aware of what those thoughts are, the more you can like really provide evidence, right? So in my mind, I was like, I can't make good money as a coach. And then I met all these people and they were like, you can definitely, like they knew my background, they knew themselves. And they're like, yeah, like this is like definitely 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, fine.
Yeah.
Like this is totally doable. And so it really like, first asking yourself the question, like just judgment free, even doing a thought download, like what do I enjoy doing? Writing all those things down and then looking at them and just, I think it's not quite a meditation, but it's kind of like a similar thing, right? Let it stew, let it sink in, like notice your heart. Like where does your heart really sink down when you're like, oh, this sounds like something I want to do.
Wow, I love that. And so for anybody who is interested in getting a consultation, please go to the website. The link is in the chat and you can actually schedule your consultation online. There's, like I said, there's a lot of information on the site, all and more. That's the other thing that I like. You're kind of obviously you're an open book here, but you're an open book on your site. You're not gonna have to guess what's available, what services are available, but definitely just go to the site and check out. And Jan is saying that's actually what she is looking into, and so there you go. So
great,
Jan,
yeah.
please go to the site, and if you have any issues, reaching the site or whatever, ping me, and I'll make sure that you get connected. Absolutely. So we're coming down to, I usually try to do these for like 40 minutes because after 40 minutes, my guests are like, I'm going to need stronger cocktail. How many questions can you ask me? But I wanted to ask this thought-provoking question. It's thought-provoking. What do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah. Wow. I want to be remembered for being a high quality person. Like a high quality person. It doesn't mean that, I believe certain things. It's just like that I am really present with people, that I, share myself with people, that, I want to be known and I want people to be like, I know her. Like, I know, like, and this has been a journey for me because people used to, like, my big thing was looking good. So I had this like perfect, like people are like, you just seem perfect. I'm like, oh no, there's a lot of like, so me being imperfect, me getting messy and people really knowing me, like, yeah, she's like, she like we know that she has a big heart. Like, I would say that's the big thing. Like, if people really know me, and like for a long time in corporate America, I felt like I had to like hide my heart. I was like, oh no,
Yes.
if people know that I'm like this like soft, fuzzy,
Yeah.
gooey person, they're gonna take advantage of me, you know? So I'd come to work, I'd be like, no, I'm like a man, you know, I'm like head of finance. And that's like, it's really exhausting to be
Yes.
this person that you're not. And so for me, it's like, you know, no, like because I've done a lot of my work and like know that like I can stand up for myself, that I could use my anger appropriately. I have more space to be like, here, this is my heart, you know. And if you mess with me, I have like different things I could do. It's okay, you know.
I love that. Do you have any exciting projects or anything, again, other than, we're going to be stalking your company and obviously stalking you online, but do you have any upcoming projects or anything else that we could watch out for? Obviously, again, folks, please sign up, get the consultation, y'all. Just do that. Seriously. But if you have anything else coming up that you wanted to share with us.
Yeah, well, you see every Tuesday, I always do a post no matter what. So I always drop some sort of post, hopefully a nugget, somebody that can learn from that. I am doing some webinars next coming up, one on the drama triangle. So that's one of the things that I'm working on. And obviously on my website, I also share, there's a blog site too that has some of my LinkedIn posts and some new material. So that's out there.
Awesome. And I'm gonna for Jan Stubbs, I am gonna drop the LinkedIn post because she is gonna be
please do.
I know she's gonna reach out. So so there it is. Please connect, and that way you can also catch the posts that I keep talking about. Y'all will understand why I'm all over these posts. You'll get it on Tuesday. You'll go back and you can catch those replays. Okay. So I think I this is one of those, like, I don't want to let you go. I think I have 400.
I know. I'm like, Shelly, come over. Let's spend more time together.
This was so amazing. First of all, this was so amazing. I try to leave all of my sessions. I talk about proud, inspired, empowered, and I try to share. Usually, I ask my guests what are they proud, inspired, and empowered by. But I definitely want to throw out that first of all, I'm very proud personally of you and your journey. I'm so inspired by where you come. This feels like your company feels like you've been at it for 30 years. It's so, it's so established, and I appreciate that. There's a lot of credibility behind everything that you do, and obviously your heart is in it, and it shows. The work, it shows. So and I am empowered by everything that you put out. Like I said, I'm a super fan. I'm really excited for you, and we're looking forward to hearing a lot more about Aspire Coaching.
Well, I am equally excited to learn about more of Slice of Pie. I'm so grateful to be on this show. I didn't know you just launched recently in June.
Oh yeah, this month, y'all.
Look at you got the music.
Yeah.
In the background. I love it. And I'm like very honored to just be a guest here and to be with you and to learn more about you. So awesome. and to be with your people.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you guys for joining. We're gonna close our session here. Drop comments if you're watching the replay. The links are in the chat. Please connect. Go to Aspire Coaching, sign up for the consultation. Check her out on LinkedIn, read the post, and if you have any questions, you can always ping me and let me know what's going on. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.